Arizona Congressman and member of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees, Andy Biggs. Sir, thanks for joining us. So the vote last night was along party lines. This is what Republicans were hoping for. But earlier yesterday, we weren't sure if all Republicans were going to be on board and vote for this. What changed their mind?
Well, in talking to some of the people who were a little bit uncertain, I think the Hunter Biden failing to show up was pretty obvious to them that we needed to have this extra step, this extra strength to get cooperation. I mean, the idea that because you are a Biden, that you are above a congressional subpoena and that you want to dictate how a committee holds its hearings is just, well, it's just absolutely some of the most arrogant stuff you'd ever see. If you were to compare it, say, to the Trump issue with Donald Jr. going in, I think 3 times under subpoena to a closed-door deposition, same with Ivanka, but no, not Hunter Biden. And we have many other people that we need to get to, and we want to get those subpoenas issued and done right. And we know we've anticipated we would have to go to court, and talking to my colleagues, they said, yeah, that's reprehensible, and we're going to have to go ahead and vote for that impeachment inquiry where they were a little doubtful before.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because we were talking about that this morning. You know, people like Ken Buck, some of the House Republicans that serve in districts Biden carried in 2020, were not totally all for this. At least that's what we've been hearing leading into the vote yesterday. But Hunter doesn't show up in the morning, and it just seems like members were probably pretty PO'd at Hunter for the arrogance, and you're confirming that is helpful. I'm wondering what you were planning on asking Hunter Biden. You're part of both these committees. You were in the room yesterday waiting patiently. What's your first question for Hunter Biden?
Well, my first question to him was going to be along the lines of how much money did his father get from the $5 million that CEFC chairman funneled through to Owasco, Hunter Biden's company, and then go from there. And then I would have gone through everything from UAE, Romania, Russia, and Ukraine, because we have documentation, and I would have demonstrated that with documentation and asked him to comment on those documents. But we anticipated he was going to take the fifth on virtually everything since the indictments came out. And he's under indictment currently. So
yeah. And just to be clear, that's because whatever he would say could be used against him in both those indictments.
Well, in theory, but I mean, yes, because these are tax evasion indictments. So if you're getting money and you're not paying taxes on that money, even if it's licit or illicit, you're going to be under the gun. But that, by the way, Rob, that may be one of the reasons that the indictments were timed the way they were, because this was well announced and well known that he was supposed to come in and testify. And they might have just given him a predicate to engage in the Fifth Amendment protection. So yeah, that's one thought.
So the biggest claim we heard yesterday, especially from the White House, is that there's no evidence. You don't have any evidence. Can you just go over? You mentioned documentation. Talk to us about that evidence.
There's mountains of evidence. My problem is I think we have too much evidence, and it muddies the waters. So we have literally thousands, tens of thousands of pages of bank records. And he says we cherry pick those. No, you don't cherry pick a bank record. What you do is you actually follow the numbers and the dates of transfers from where to where. They have set up more than 20 shell companies, all during the Veep, when Joe Biden's tenure as the vice president. You have SARS, literally almost 200 suspicious activity reports from banks. You have actually one bank where you have an auditor saying, we've got a problem here because this $5 million deposit is not based on anything that they're selling. There's no loan documentation. It is very scary because it's coming from basically a CCP-controlled company.
Yeah.
You have all that evidence, and then you have Joe Biden meeting with these people,
right.
Making phone calls to these people. It all wraps up together.
Yeah. And the White House coordinated with Hunter yesterday. They knew that he was going to defy this subpoena, break the law. There were Democrats. Eric Swalwell is standing right next to him. And my whole contention the whole time has been, look, if you got nothing to hide, go in there and prove it. And Hunter Biden, the gaslighting on display yesterday was really extraordinary.
Big PR stunt.
Congressman, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.